It's finally here. Happy 20th anniversary, Guild Wars. As I'm sure you may have heard by now, ArenaNet has dropped an update that adds new anniversary content as well as some permanent updates to the game. Every year, Guild Wars has a reoccurring event to celebrate the release of the franchise, and during these anniversaries, the events open up a bunch of content that is only available during this time of year. Things such as the Xingje Boardwalk, getting Proofs of Legend that are used to get exclusive Decade weapons, using the Proof of Triumph to capture the 10 new elite skills from the 15th anniversary update, and much more. Yes, all the content that was added to the game from the 15th anniversary and previous still occurs and is available to everyone. But to explain everything that happens during the anniversary events would take way too long for this video, so I recommend you take a look at a complete guide that I made last year to get those details. Anyway, let's go on and talk about the 20th anniversary update, and holy cow. This update opens up a whole new era of builds, not just for players, but also for heroes, dungeon runs, speed clears, and etc., but we'll get into that in a bit. To start, and as mentioned last week, they now made previously exclusive weapons available as random drops throughout the campaigns. If you want to see a list of all the weapons that are now available, you can check out the wiki, but in short, this update makes a lot of really cool weapon skins available to all players. They will drop randomly throughout the game as unidentified golds, and some are campaign exclusive. They drop randomly as with any other unidentified golds, but also, if they drop in prophecies or factions, they will drop as old school weapons with no inscription slot, and if they drop from the Eye of the North or Nightfall campaigns, they will drop with that inscription slot. In terms of farming these, you should look into the farms that drop a lot of unidentified golds and take advantage of the Favor of the Gods. Just type /favor to see if the bonus is active, and if it is, more golds will drop in-game. Anyway, if you want to farm in prophecies, I would recommend looking into the Gates of Kryta farm or even the Hulking Stone Elemental farm. For factions, my favorite farm is in the mission A Chance Encounter, which seems to drop the most golds and most interesting old school stuff in my opinion. But if you haven't gotten that far in the story, you can always look into Mantid farming outside of Napui Quarter, Dragon Moss farming outside of St. Injaka's Shrine, or even the Halcyon Job farm. In the Nightfall campaign, you could look into Stygian stone farming in the Domain of Anguish, but again, if you didn't make it that far in the story, take a look at the Matic Crevice farm where you could also get some Q8s, or even Drake farming outside of Raihan Refuge. And finally, for Eye of the North, there is always Veatir farming in Jaga Moraine, and Raptor farming in Riven Earth. There is also the Snowman farm too. Anyway, there are a lot of farms out there that you can do. Just pick your favorite for whatever profession you want to run and have at it. I have video guides on these farms and others that you could find on my channel, and even if the video is kind of old, the strategies will always work because no updates to the game mechanics have happened in the last decade. Also, something that was not mentioned in the previous update posts on the wiki is that some of these previously exclusive weapons are now available as Decade weapons from the Ancient Anniversary Weaponsmith in Embark Beach, therefore making some of these available to everyone right off the bat. All you need to do is trade in 5 Proofs of Legends for each. Just be careful though, because all of these weapons will be customized to the character you use to make the trade. And if you look closely at these new Decade weapons, you will see probably the most impactful portion of this update that I mentioned earlier. New weapon mods have been added to the game, and boy does this change things. These weapon mods grant you up to +5 attribute points in a profession's primary attribute, even if you are using a profession who does not normally have access to that primary attribute. So why is this a big deal, you might ask? Well, let me explain. Primary attributes are determined by the primary profession of your character. If you go into your skills window, you will see the attributes that affect the effectiveness of the skills that you are using, alongside with those attributes from your secondary profession. Your primary attribute, though, is exclusive only to that character's primary profession. You don't get access to the primary attributes of your secondary profession. That is, until now. These primary attributes not only affect the strength and effectiveness of skills and spells, but also have inherent effects. For example, Strength on a Warrior provides 1% armor penetration per rank to attack skills that don't normally have armor penetration. And another example, Energy Storage on an Elementalist increases the amount of energy you can have by 3 for every attribute point, and so on and so forth for each profession. In short, each profession has one of these inherent effects that gives a boost only to its respective primary profession. But now things have changed. These mods now allow up to +5 attribute points in any of these primary attributes on any character. In other words, any primary profession now has access to the primary attributes of another profession. Granted, it is capped at 5 though. It also has no effect on you if you already have more than 5 points assigned to that same primary attribute. It has no effect in PvP, nor will cons, pecons, or skills like Heroic Refrain have any effect on this value. As I mentioned before, this changes things and opens up a whole new realm of possibilities. Now you could have a Mesmer with a Necromancer's Soul Reaping attribute that gains 5 energy each time a foe dies. Imagine the hero builds you could do with this too. Put Soul Reaping on your healers and your Mesmers, and your team will never run out of energy, practically. To be honest, I could see this particular mod being used all over the place. For another example, you could also have daggers with critical strikes so you can dagger spam more effectively on practically any profession paired with critical agility or any other like skills. Even put critical strikes on a bow for a ranger. Imagine a necromancer who creates minions with up to 20% more health because of spawning power. Or heck, even an elementalist using fast casting weapons to cast spells up to 21% faster. Also in a team build, you could theoretically have your necromancers using only Mesmer spells. They would have their energy management with the Soul Reaping attribute while also benefiting from the fast casting mod, getting both shorter casting and recharge times. I can also imagine how some farms and advanced speed clears might change now that assassins have access to the ranger's expertise primary attribute to increase the duration and damage output from rolling defense. I'm really excited to see what kind of builds that people will put together with these mods. The only drawback is that they will take up the suffix bonuses on weapons, which includes the popular mods that increase enchantment duration or reducing casting times or recharge times of spells, depending on whatever weapon it is. That being said, this opens up a lot of opportunities all over the place. It may even open up new farms, team builds for PvE, or even change how some speed clears are done. Only time will tell. Another highly anticipated aspect of this update are the miniatures. The miniature pig, Grawl, Panda, Grey Giant, Asura, Destroyer of Flesh, Mad King's Guard, Ceratodon, Longhair Yeti, Island Guardian, Kanaxai, and Grease Lightning are now available to all players. These miniatures used to be so rare that in some cases only a few dozen were ever released to very specific players back in the day. And now they're available to everyone. Granted, they can't be traded or sold, unlike the originals. To get these minis, you have to complete the quests given by Maurice, sworn to Seize and Embark Beach. Remember those storybooks? For half of these missions, you will need to complete the hard mode versions of these storybooks given by the lore masters of each campaign. In other words, to get the minis, you will need to complete all the missions and all the campaigns with these books in your inventory in hard mode. For the other half of the missions, you will need to complete the elite dungeons, such as the Fissure of Woe, the Underworld, Urgo's Warren, the Deep, and etc., also in hard mode. Not to mention all the dungeons in Eye of the North. All of these dungeons are extremely difficult and take a really long time to complete even in normal mode during traditional clears. However, over the years, players have perfected speed clears for most of these dungeons and can be completed extremely quickly and efficiently. That being said, for all you new players coming back to the game or are starting Guild Wars for the first time, these missions may not be accessible to you yet or would be very, very difficult. To get access to hard mode even, you need to complete each of the campaigns in normal mode first. So my personal thoughts on this is that the difficulty and effort to completing these missions is a great way to reward the veterans who have stuck with the game for so long. It also provides challenges and a new motivation to play through the campaigns. It's sort of like an endgame challenge. On the flip side, it's not necessarily accessible to new players until they practically beat the game. Also, for the whales of the game who saved up for years to be able to purchase one of the original exclusive miniatures, this may be seen as a punch in the face now that everyone has access to them. That being said, the originals are still unique because they're the only ones that can still be traded. But overall, I think everyone having access to these is healthy for the player base, and the challenge is warranted based on the previous rarity of these miniatures. Another very nice little update that they threw in there is that they modified the duration of many personal consumables to give combat bonuses for up to 30 minutes instead of just 5 or 10 minutes in some cases. Many of these consumables are commonly used in speed clears and dungeon runs, which in my opinion are some of the best mechanics in Guild Wars. Most of which require them even to make these strategies possible to complete. Therefore, there is often an in-game paywall before you can even start doing many of these speed clears and dungeon runs. By making this update, it reduces the number of consumables needed overall, which in theory will reduce the demand and price for getting these consumables. That is, if you can't farm them yourself throughout the year during the events in which they are dropped. I think this is an amazing little fix that shouldn't go unnoticed. It will make consumables more available, thereby making some of the best parts and mechanics of the game more accessible to everyone. And speaking of being more accessible to everyone, the developers have released the 20th Anniversary Masterpiece Collection, which includes all of the campaigns, including the Eye of the North and the bonus mission pack, 8 character slots, and even additional storage panes. At the time of recording, all of this is only $8. I am not kidding. It's that cheap, and no, I'm not sponsored or anything like that, just passing on the news. This is the perfect way for anyone to get into this game if they haven't already. It includes everything that you will need. They are also having a huge sale on character and account services and many other add-ons in the Guild Wars store, and I've never seen things this cheap before. So if you've been holding off on increasing the storage capacity of your chest, or turning your characters into heroes for your other characters in the game, or maybe even getting some costumes, now is the perfect time to get them. Also, something that might have flown under the radar is that the developers are working on Steam Deck support for Guild Wars 1. This doesn't apply to me personally, but I think it is a great way to add more accessibility to the game. It seems like it's currently in beta, but there is more information on the wiki if you're interested. And finally, just like last time, I want to give a huge shout out and a big thank you to all the folks at ArenaNet who made these updates possible and for continuing to support the everlasting and dedicated player base for these past 20 years. I've said this before, but Guild Wars 1 truly holds a special place in my heart, as I'm sure it does for many of us in the community. It is truly a unique masterpiece and has proven itself to stand the test of time. As one of these players, all I can say is thank you. Thanks for watching, everyone. Good luck and have fun, and let's celebrate these 20 years and more together. I'll see you guys next time.